that other students were unable to make it. So I want to make sure that they have the opportunity to watch our live session or our session versus I've recorded this many, many times. So um, I don't want to necessarily give you an older version unless I like this one doesn't work out for some reason. But anyway, welcome. We're going to be talking today about the business presentations in general, and then looking specifically at the assignment that you guys have of the individual presentation, which is basically, I made it real simple. It's your five most significant life events. So content-wise, it shouldn't be difficult for you to come up with what those four life events have been that really shaped who you are. And then there's more, what I'm looking for more in this assignment is how do you present, and then how do you utilize presentation software like PowerPoint in your presentation? And I think these are two very critical, important points. The actual content is not as important to me in this sense because I can't really dictate or plan what kind of content you might have to do in the future when it comes to business presentations. So I'm going to stick focusing on, how do you present? What are some do's and don'ts of your presentation? And what are some do's and don'ts of your use of presentation software? Now, some people don't like using presentation software, but I think it's valuable because it gives your audience a visual, it gives them something to kind of engage with while you're talking, and it also helps some of the nerves because they're not just looking at you, they're looking at the screen as well. You can also draw their attention to the screen. So all that can be very beneficial. So I want you to know kind of the do's and don'ts of how to utilize that software in a way that makes your presentation more professional, etc. So that's going to be the focus of our Zoom session is really this presentation assignment, and then I'll get into the do's and don'ts of business presentation. So I'm going to start by sharing my screen and going to our course on the actual assignment. So can you guys see my screen? Does it say start individual presentation?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the assignment that we're going to be doing. So this first week, so basically, again, it's a 5 minute PowerPoint presentation. Now you can use other software if you want to. It's not a big deal, but PowerPoint makes it easy to do everything that I'm going to describe. It also allows you, if you have a camera, to record your presentation in PowerPoint, save it as a presentation recording, and then upload that. And that's really it's all in one stop shop. But this assignment's going to be a 5 minute presentation of your four most significant life events. So this week, your first thing that you're going to do is just start preparing. And the best way to do it is just to make a scratch list of all your life events that you can think of. So just sit down, piece of paper, write as many as you can think of, everywhere from being born to, maybe getting married or meeting your significant other, your college journey, traveling, just whatever events that kind of shaped you and made you who you are or identify who you are, and then narrow it down to four. Sometimes you're going to group a few of those together, but you've made a list and then pick your four most significant, and that's going to kind of be the starting point. And then then you're going to want to, maybe make a bullet list under each main point. Maybe your first one is getting married. Well, then talk about that and give me three or four, maybe write down four or five or six, significant things about that particular event. So you're kind of creating like a rough outline, and you should really do that all on paper before you ever open your software. And that's true of any presentation. You should really write it out at least in outline form before you start building a PowerPoint presentation. So that's the first thing you're going to do. You don't need to upload anything this week. It's all on you. Just get started and start, putting together your four significant life events. Next week, starting week 2, as it says here on the dates, you want to start creating your PowerPoint slides. So now that you have a rough outline of what you want to share and talk about, now you want to build slides. And technically, you're going to need roughly at least 5 slides, maybe as many as 7. But you want to have a title slide that just describes the assignment itself, that says, your name, and I'll show you because I have a sample that I'll show you of my own presentation, and I'll actually go through that with you. And then so that'll be the first slide. Then you want to do a navigation slide. What's a navigation slide? You may not know, but this is kind of back to your book. If you read chapter 12, you'll see it tells you a good presentation should always tell your audience what you're going to tell them. That's your introduction. Then tell them that's the body, and then tell them what you've told them. That's your conclusion. So the navigation slide is kind of telling them what you're going to tell them. So here is my four significant life events, and you're just listing them off in the navigation slide. That's telling your audience what we're going to be talking about today. And that's always good because if you don't tell them, they're wondering the whole time, well, what's next, or how long are they going to go, or they've been talking about this a long time. Are they going to talk about anything else? So giving them a navigation helps them kind of have hangers in which they can know you're shifting gears and follow you. And then, having 4 points helps a lot because if they start losing you because they're not paying attention or whatever during point one, when you say now the second thing, now you've grabbed all their attention and brought them back into your presentation. So four significant life events would be the next four slides. So you have your title slide, your navigation slide, then you have one slide for each of the four significant events. You can have more than one for each, but you should be able to build one slide that builds as you talk, and I'll talk about that in a minute. That looks like five slides, but it's really just one. And then so you have again title slide, navigation slide, uh, four slides for each of your four significant life events, and then you want to have a conclusion slide or some kind of a wrap up slide where you actually could go back over quickly reiterating your four events, and then some kind of a slide that signifies that you're done with the presentation. So it could be some students like to use a quote, some students like to say, does anybody have any questions? And typically you want to ask questions, even though you won't be able to be given any answers because you're just going to record this. But it's kind of nice to kind of signal that this is the end of my presentation. So again, you're going to have roughly six, seven, maybe eight slides should be sufficient. Do you have a question? I think they need to mute. Let me see. I'll mute. There we go. If you can mute yourself, that would help because unless you have a question, then unmute yourself. All right. Any questions about that so far? All right. And then if you continue on here, then starting right here, I say have a title slide, a navigation slide, a slide for each four of your events, and then a conclusion slide. And then says it would be helpful if you also use the following on your slide. So navigation slide again, tell them what you're going to tell them, tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you told them. You definitely want to use bullet points. Now, one thing with presentations that people often make the big mistake is they put a whole paragraph up, and that's not the good use of presentation software. It's not there for your audience to read, nor is it your notes. It's really just to jog your memory and tell you kind of an outline of what you want to talk about. So there's a thing called the 6 by 6 rule, and that's where your bullet points should be no more than six on a page, and each bullet point should only have roughly 6 words in it. So it's really just a statement to kind of jog your memory of what you want to talk about, not a paragraph. The biggest mistake students make is they put a whole paragraph, the whole thing is a paragraph. It's just not professional. I see it happen all the time, even in the business context, and it's just not professional. It doesn't utilize the software the way that it was intended to be used. So 6 by 6 rule, but definitely use bullet points, and pictures is a must. Not too many pictures, but pictures. Uh, Presentations are visual. Presentation software is visually appealing, and the whole idea is that you would have something visual for people to see. So pictures, graphics, tables, charts, those kinds of things really make your presentation more useful, especially when you're talking about data, and having a chart up that the audience can look at really helps. Or even just photos. If you're talking about your travel, put a few photos up of the places you went to. That kind of thing is acceptable. And then transitions, between your slides, you should have, kind of professional transitions. Some students like to have the curtains close or have the page fold up and fly away. That's a little bit too informal, I think, for a business presentation. So just things like dissolve or shift or whatever. There's all these different transitions, and I'll show you how to use those here in a minute. But you should definitely have transitions, and only a couple of different kinds of transitions at the most. Don't do 10 different ones. And then this is very important. The size of your font on the slides should be about 30 font and no smaller than that because becomes hard to read for people maybe sitting in the back of the room, even if you have a big screen. So 30 font is the recommended size, or anything larger is fine. And then, of course, follow the 6 by 6 rule. So these are just some of the general guidelines that I want you to make sure you apply to your presentation when you're building your slides. So week number two, I apologize, I got a cough all of a sudden. Week number two, you definitely want to start building your slides. And then for the next couple of weeks, from week 3, 4, and 5, I think it is, or 3 and 4, you're going to begin to practice your presentation. And at some point before the deadline date, and by the way, I highly recommend that you do this early because Another problem that we have is sometimes it won't upload. It's too large or your internet connection's poor. And if you're trying to do this at 9 o'clock on Sunday night that it's due, chances are it's not going to work. So give yourself plenty of time to upload it. But once you've recorded it, and I'll talk about that in a minute, you're going to record your presentation. So basically, PowerPoint's really cool because it has the feature to where you can turn your camera on, turn your microphone on, and it actually has your slides on the screen in front of you, and then a little picture of you in the corner. So you can actually give your presentation. I can see you on video, I can hear you on audio, and I can see your slides, and I can see you work through your slides as you're giving your presentation. So, so that's what you're going to be doing over the next few weeks is practicing your presentation. It needs to be, by the way, 5 minutes. If it's any longer than 5 minutes, even 1 second longer, you instantly lose 10 points. And the reason I do that is because in business, if they tell you to give a 5 minute presentation, it should be 5 minutes. And don't go 17, you know. So keep it five. So I'm really strict on that front end, on that back end. On the front end, if your ideal sweet spot's between 4 minutes and 30 seconds and 5 minutes, that's how long it should be, and you're okay. Get 100% for time on that. If you go shorter than 4:30, like 4:15, 4:20, you'll lose 5 points. If you go longer than 5 minutes, you lose 10 points for the first minute over, and then 10 points for every minute, every second into the next minute over. So if you go 7 minutes right away, that's already 30 points off of the 100 that you can earn. So make sure you keep it 5 minutes. Um, so here's some of the guidelines. So as far as recording your presentation, PowerPoint, there's a little instructions right here, but I'll show you when I give my presentation how to record it. But you can open your presentation in PowerPoint. You can go to the slideshow feature. Once you're all done, you got all your slides made. Then you can go to record presentation, turn your camera and your audio on, and then when you click the little red button to record, it's going to actually record you giving your presentation. So it's pretty cool. Also, as far as the issue of uploading it, like I mentioned, sometimes it doesn't upload. There's internet connection problems at your house or whatever. There's problems at Canvas and it doesn't upload. It'll just say submitting and you'll click submit and it'll just say submitting, submitting, and it'll do that for 2 days. So it's not working if it doesn't do it within 10 minutes or 5 minutes. So you may need to upload it to YouTube. YouTube seems to be a little more generous about size. So you could upload it to YouTube. If you have a YouTube account, you can open a free account just to do this assignment. You upload it there, it'll give you a link when you're done. Just copy the link and paste the link in the assignment, and that's just as good as uploading it. It's a lot easier. It actually is easier for me to grade it if it's in YouTube because it opens it up in a separate window, and then I can actually take notes while I watch your presentation. So that's the recording it, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute when I give you my presentation. And then presentation guidelines, again, it must be strictly 4 minutes and 30 seconds to 5 minutes in length. And I explain there if you go over, you're going to be penalized or under. You'll be graded on the quality of your slides, their appearance, their readability, their professionalism, and whether or not you followed the guidelines like the 6x6 rule, that you used builds, that you used navigation slide, those kinds of things. You'll also be graded on how well you present. So are you clear? Are you loud? Does it sound like you're reading off of a piece of paper in front of you, or are you looking at the camera and are you sharing your story? And it really shouldn't require you to do too many notes because you're just really telling your story, your four significant life events. So it should be something you're very familiar with. Just be careful not to go too long. Number four here, your presentation must show PowerPoint slides and a video of you speaking simultaneously. So PowerPoint will do that for you. If for some reason you don't have maybe I'm not sure, but I'm not sure the online version of PowerPoint works to do this. I'm not sure if the later versions do it, but originally they didn't. So you had to have the downloaded version. But I think they all do it now. The only issue is sometimes people's cameras don't work or they're having trouble getting their camera to work. And worst case scenario, just to let you know, you could use your phone. You could set your computer up next to you and have the phone seeing the screen of your computer and your face. And you can record it on your phone and then you can save that and you can upload that. That's acceptable as well. Not ideal, but I can see you working through your slides on the screen. I can see your face. I can hear your voice. That's all that matters. So make sure all those things are present. And then number five, once you've uploaded your presentation, you must view and comment on at least two other student presentations. So once the deadline date comes and we've all uploaded our presentations, then you have to go in and watch other students' presentations, not, just a couple, and then comment on them, give them some positive or constructive feedback, and that's part of the assignment. And so if you don't do that, you lose 10 points as well. And you have all the rest of semester to do it though. So once you've uploaded this assignment, you can sit on it. But if you don't view and comment on other students, I won't grade yours. So that's kind of the incentive. If you want your grade, then comment and view and comment other students' presentations, and then I will grade yours. So there's some students that will never do it till the very end last week, and I will not grade their presentation the entire semester until the last day of class, and then I end up grading it then. It's always at least a handful that do that. But you can have it graded as soon as you get all your all as soon as you upload it and you get look at other students and comment on theirs, and it shows me in your page where you uploaded it, how many comments you've made on other students, so I know when you've done two. Okay, uploading the presentation. Actually, it says right here, yeah, okay, number 6, upload the presentation video on 3/16/25, but until then, you have the end of the semester to comment on others. And then here's my PowerPoint presentation. I'm going to show you a different one than that, but this was one I had shown you as a sample. And then uploading your presentation again, you can simply do it by hitting reply at the bottom down here. There's a reply button, and then it'll give you the ability to attach the recorded presentation, or you can upload it to YouTube, as I mentioned, or any other platform that you might have familiarity with, and you can host it there and then just copy the link. And so that's pretty much it for the assignment. And then here's a rubric of what I grade you on right here. So any questions on the assignment itself? And I'm going to give you a demonstration of it, and I'm also going to go over the do's and don'ts of business presentations. I'm kind of talking about it now. I'm going to show it to you, and then I'm going to go over the list of do's and don'ts, which kind of does your discussion post assignment for you. So any questions so far? You guys good? Okay, you guys are very quiet. That's okay.
Yes.
Okay, I appreciate that. All right, so let me see. I didn't look this up, so let me see if I can find my a better version of my presentation because I think the one that's on there is really old. So let me give me a second to look this up. Here's no, that's his. Okay, let's see if this one works. Oh. That's somebody else's, sorry. Want that? All right, let me go over here. Shoot, what's that? I don't want to annotate. All right, hold on a second. Now I can see it. Do, 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 do. For life events. I was having trouble navigating here. Hmm. I have to just use the one in the assignment here. Let's see. Okay, here's a better one. Yeah, that one still doesn't have my granddaughter on it, but I'll just use this one. All right, so I'm gonna share. Somebody had a question in the chat. Okay, no worries. Thank you for that, Jacob. I saw that. All right, let me share my slide. Now I'm not going to actually give my presentation. I'm just going to step through it and explain some things, and I'll kind of give it, but I'm not timing. Everybody. My name is Eric Doucette. I'm going to be giving my 4 significant life events presentation. This one's got a recording in no particular order. So here we go. So it's recording me now, right? So when you're all done recording, you're just going to read. Okay, so then here's my 4 significant life events: hitched, touring the world, on mission, and down by the river. So those are my 4 significant life events. We're going to look at each of these in order. So here I'm trying to move you guys out of the way so I can see it. All right. So first off, we're going to look at getting hitched. So I got married in July 1986 after knowing my wife for 7 months. And we had a very short courtship, but we've been married almost 39 years this year. So we are racking up the years. There's a wedding picture of us on the day we got married in 1986. That was us about 10 years ago. And then in 1990, we had our first child. His name is Andrew. He just turned 35. And then in 1995, we had our daughter Miranda. And that's a family picture, probably also 10 years ago. And then in 2018, we had our first wedding. My daughter got married. And so I'm also a minister, as you'll hear. And so I officiated the wedding of my daughter. And my son at the time of this one was still at home, but now he got married in 2021. And so I officiated his wedding as well. And now I have two granddaughters from my daughter. That's the more recent version that I couldn't find of my presentation. But at the time, I said my son was still at home, which is kind of cool. But then, hey, you got to launch, right? Failure to launch. Okay, my second significant event is touring the world. So back in the 80s, I was into hair metal bands and things like that. All the hair metal bands, Poison and Bon Jovi and all those bands. I listened to and went to their concerts, Striper, all these ones. And so I was into that, and I also got in a band as well. So there's a picture of us. I'm the second one from the right or left. We wore makeup. We were kind of a glam band, but we were also a Christian band, believe it or not. And so Hairspray was our friend. We used to pompadour our hair up like that guy on the end, and we played different shows in churches all around Los Angeles and Orange County, and our band's name was Spectra. So we were on the lineup of all these other Christian metal bands. And 30 years later, somebody was listening to a KLOS and they were talking about the Christian hair metal bands of the 80s and they brought us up, but they were mocking us and making fun of us, but at least we got mentioned, is what my attitude. So we recorded a couple of songs and somebody said they even played it on the local licks back in the day when there was a station in LA called KMET. And then third thing is my on mission for God. So I was actually an associate pastor for almost, well, 10 years at Harvest Christian Fellowship. I served there for about not 10 years, and then they ordained me as a pastor, and I served there for about 9 years as well. There's a picture of that in 2000. I was also a crusade director, so I put together those large events at Anaheim. I did that for about 5 years of that time I was there. Back in 2004, I left Harvest and went and started a church out in Grand Terrace, California. And I was a pastor, and I decided a couple of years into that I really wanted to finish my college degree. So I went and got an MBA in business. And then since then, I started teaching as an adjunct instructor. And then now I'm full time at Norco College in Norco, California. But I taught for 1 year full time at Cerritos. That was my first full time gig, but I left Cerritos. They were pretty disappointed and I loved everybody there, but fortunately, they allow me to continue to teach classes at Cerritos. So that's my story there. And then the last one's Down by the River. So another significant event of mine was Down by the River. I don't know if you ever saw that movie, Brother, Where Art Thou, with George Clooney, but it's about a couple of guys that break out of prison to get some treasure, and they're on the run. They end up recording a song, and everybody loves the song and they don't even realize it until the end when they sing the song at a impromptu concert that they get stuck into and everybody loves them and it's a great ending of the story. But right in the middle there's a character named Delmer, and Delmer was kind of the knucklehead funny guy, but he sees some people down at the river being baptized, and he went down, got in line, and he got baptized, and he came out of the river and said, "My sins done, been washed away. I'm a new man." He tries to live this new life throughout the movie, which is a challenge, but he does pretty good. And so that's kind of my story. I was raised in a religious home, and sex, drugs, and rock and roll were my motto of life. And as long as I wasn't doing all three in any one weekend, I was good with the man upstairs. But my life was unfulfilled and empty, and so I ended up giving my life to Jesus Christ and becoming a Christian, and now a follower of Christ. And as I mentioned, a pastor and a leader in churches and parachurch ministries. So that's my story. Any questions? All right. You guys follow me on that?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's pretty much kind of what you're going to do. Mine's simple. I did use pictures. I did use the 6 by 6 rule in my slides. I had simple transitions just appear, things like that. It's my story, so nobody can really argue with it. The content is the truth of my life, and what's cool about this assignment is you get a chance to kind of share your story, and then other people get a chance to kind of know you a little bit, which is being cool. So anyway, or which is cool. So First off, I just want to show you. So this is the title slide. And if you notice, I already had recorded a video for that first slide. I never deleted it. So I'll show you how to do that because it's not going to let me record it again with as long as that one's there. But it put a little video of me right here. And then it allowed me to actually talk. So if I play that slide again, let's see, you guys are in the way down here. If I play that slide again, good morning, everybody. That's what yours is going to look like. I'm going to be giving my 4 significant life events. That's exactly what yours will look like. It'll look just like that. It'll be a video of you, audio, and then your slides in the background. So that was my first slide, my what I call my title slide. And then I have my navigation slide. Now, this is my 4 significant life events. So this is where I'm telling you what I'm going to tell you, right? I'm telling you I'm going to talk about being hitched, touring the world, on mission for God, down by the river. So what you do for all of your slides is you build the whole slide just like this. So you put everything in its place. Now, in this case, I just used clip art from the internet, and I just found hitched, and then I went up here to insert at the very top, and I did insert picture right here, and I navigated to wherever I downloaded that file to from the internet, and then I just did picture from file, and then I went and navigated to where it was, and I hit input, and then it placed this image, and it might have made, let's just say when it first inputted, it looked like that. So like, all right, well, I just need to resize it, bring it down, and then move it to where I want it on the slide, and then just resize it down to where it's like the others. And so I did that for all of them. I just kept inputting pictures. And then in order to get these little titles over the top, I just did what's called insert a text box. So if you select text box right up here at the top, and you select that, it lets you input a text box. So there you go. And then I can type hitched, even though I spelt it wrong. I can resize it. I can do whatever I need to do. And then I can move it wherever I want it on the page. So once I did that and I built all of the slide by adding pictures and adding text boxes, then I animated it so that way every time I hit the bar, it added another one to the screen. That's what I call builds. And you must use builds. This helps your audience track with you as you're speaking. This is probably the number one area that most students don't follow through, and they don't do builds on their slides. They just have everything come up at once, and that's, in my opinion, is not the best way to do a presentation, because when you do that, everybody's reading ahead and they're not listening to what you're saying. So if you only put one thing up, they're listening to what you're saying about that one thing. Then you put the next thing up. So you might say, well, how do I do transitions? How do I do animations like that? Well, you have an animations page up here at the top in PowerPoint. You also have an animation pane right here that actually puts to the right here all of your slides or all the things you want to add to your screen in order. So what I'm going to do just for fun is I'm going to delete all these, because right now they're in order to be that. Now this is starting at the very beginning. I just built my slide now. I put all my pictures on here and I put my text boxes. So now I want to animate them. So all you need to do is select the items that you want to animate. So in this case, I'm going to animate these two at the same time. So I'm going to select the text box, and then I'm going to select the picture by holding down the shift key. That selects both of them. And then I'm going to just come up here. These are my animations. I have all these choices. I have a bunch of them. I can do stretch, I can do zoom, I can do spin, I can do rise, I can do center, I can do all these weird ones, but I always stick with simple ones like maybe blinds. So there, if you watch when I play it, it looks like it's blinds, and you can test it up here. All right, then I go to the next one, and so now that I've animated those, and those puts one next to it, and it puts it into my animation pane. And then I select the next two by holding down the shift key. I'll do blinds on that one too. Go to the third one, hold down my shift key. This one I'll do fly in. And then the last one. Now you don't want to do too many. I'm just showing you that there's options. And then we'll do stripes. Okay. So now all of them are animated, and you can tell because there's numbers next to them and there's a list over here. Now, for some reason, I get them out of order. Nice thing is I can move them around on this list. I can just grab it and shift it wherever I want it. But they're all in order now. So I want to test my slide, so I can just do play. That's actually playing from the last one. So if I put it at the top and I do play, it'll go boom, 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 boom. So now it's animated. So when is it going to animate? Well, when I select the space bar, it's going to do it. So let's test it as a presentation. I'm going to come down here and select the start presentation. There we go. Every time I hit the space bar, there they come up. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll show you that again. So here's how it's going to look when it first comes up, and then I just hit spacebar or the down arrow, and it builds my slide. So that's what I mean by builds. You're building your slide as you speak. You're not just putting it all up at once, and that is a requirement, one of the guidelines for business presentations. Let me go to the next one because the next one's a little more complex because I do have photos on it. But notice when I selected the next one, since I'm in the animations page as well as the animation pane, it brought the next one up. It's already all animated because I had done it already, obviously. But if I go back, I'm gonna do the same thing here. I'm gonna just delete all of these. I'm gonna delete them all. Okay, so now there's no animations, but the slide is built. So I'm gonna move this picture around because it's kind of in the way. And I'm going to also move, these ones are fine. So, all right, so now I want to animate my page. So first thing I'm going to do is select the first line. This case, when you're doing animation of a bullet list, you just want to select the one line and then click what you want it to do. So it's going to appear. And then I think that was me getting married. So the first picture needs to go with that. So I'm selecting that second. I'm going to select appear on that. So notice it puts a one and a, can't see the twos over here to the left. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do this one third because I had that picture of me. Okay, third. All right, so that's three. Now I'm going to select my son's birth, and then I'm going to select my daughter's birth. That's what I want to be next, four and five. And then I show a picture of my family. So I'm going to select that as six. Then I'm going to come down here and talk about the first wedding. So that's seven. And then this picture is what I want to come up. So I'm just going to put it right here. You won't see it until the slide builds. It's going to cover all the rest, but it's fine for now. So I'm going to select that and call that 8. And then lastly, I'm going to do my son is still at home. And that'll be the last one I do. So if you look over here to the right, it has the first bullet point, then it has the picture, then it has the second bullet point, Andrew, and then the third bullet point, Miranda, then another picture, that's the family picture. And then the first wedding, that's the next line, and then the wedding picture, number 4, and then my son's still at home, number the last thing on there. So now if I again play it from the beginning, you'll see that it goes too fast. All right, so but if I do it manually, it's going to be in the order that I put it in every time I hit the space bar. So again, that's called builds, and you need to do that on your presentation. All right, any questions about any of that? You can use Google Slides, but Google Slides, I'm not sure has all those features, so you might not be able to, Jacob, you might not be able to, do all the transitions that I'm showing you, but you can try, and Google Slides is acceptable, so is Prezi. Some of these other softwares are fine. I just have to grade it a little bit differently to accommodate that software. So, but I really like PowerPoint because I'll show you right now, it's going to let you record your presentation, which really becomes valuable and helpful. So that's the next thing I'm going to talk about is how do you record it? Okay, no worries, Jacob. Did that make sense, Jacob? You can chat answer me. Yeah. Okay. All right, so now the next thing is how do you record this thing? So, all right, so I have all these bars on my screen. I have the PowerPoint bar. I have the video of you guys. I have the, maybe I should change my view. Let's see if I could do that. So that way I'm not seeing all of you. Let's see, how do I change that? Here we go. Okay, that helps. All right, so you guys can see my screen right now. So first off, what I'm going to do then is I'm going to go back to so now my PowerPoint presentation is all built. I've built all the build things into it, navigation slide builds, all that kind of stuff, transitions. And so now I want to record my presentation. So all I need to do is come up here to the slideshow tab, and then there's a button right here that says record. So I'm going to select that. And if you notice, there is 15 seconds already recorded, and it has a play. Remember I told you that I had recorded this before? So all you need to do is come up here and hit trash, little trash icon. Can you guys see that, by the way? Let me ask. Can anybody see that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So if you click trash, watch what'll happen. It goes away, it zeroes out my time, and then it puts me live in the video. Look at, see the little picture of me down there? There I am. So it's now ready to record my presentation a second time. And to the right of the red dot at the top, there's a camera icon. So if I click that, what happens? Video goes away. So you should be able to see yourself at this point in PowerPoint. If you don't, you might need to use a different computer to do it because maybe your PowerPoint software is not downloaded to your computer, or maybe your camera's not working. So I highly recommend that easiest way to do is just borrow somebody's computer that has PowerPoint and do the recording and then email it to yourself. There's also an audio button here, so I can turn off now you can't hear me if I was to record it. And if you look to the right, there's an arrow. So if you look to the right of the camera, there's an arrow. So your camera might just not be showing in the list, or you might not have the right camera selected. So make sure you select the camera that shows your picture. And the same thing with the audio. Make sure you're selecting the right audio that you want to use for your recording. And then once you've done that, you've got the video, you can see yourself in it, and you're hearing yourself, your audio is turned on, it's not X'd out. Then you can go ahead and start recording your presentation. So all you need to do is click record, and it's going to count you down, and then you're going to say, good evening, everybody. My name is Eric Doucette, and this is my presentation for significant life events in no particular order. And I'm going to be starting off by talking about number one, getting hitched, number two, touring the world, number three, on mission for God, and number four, down by the river. So that's all you do. When you're done, you click the red button at the top. And now it's when you close out, it's going to ask you to save it, or it's going to save it in your PowerPoint folder on your computer. And it'll be a PPTX file or an MP4, depending on what your options are. Sometimes it actually asks you to save it in what format you want to save it in. If you messed up and you totally blew it and you're like, oh, crud, that was awful, just hit the trash can again right here. That'll delete what you just did and you can start over. Just make sure you go to the beginning of your presentation though before you do that. So you'd have to come back here and then go to record again from beginning. And then here you're back at your screen. So, all right, any questions about that? That's recording your presentation.
No.
Okay. All right, so that is that portion of our presentation. And I love to watch your presentations. I love to hear your stories. I love to, be able to kind of know you a little bit. And that's kind of the cool part of this presentation is if you do it on time and then other students get a chance to, you know, to watch it, then you kind of get to know each other a little bit in the class, at least a few people, which could be helpful because later on we're going to be doing mock interviews and, it'd be nice to be able to maybe interview each other and stuff like that. And we'll get to that later. But all right, so that's that. Then the last thing I want to go over with you, give me just a second, is the do's and don'ts of business presentations. So I'm gonna just delete all this so that way I can use builds when I'm talking about it. And then that way you can follow along and I can explain to you what to do or what not to do. So give me a second. I'm just deleting everything and then I'm gonna undelete it one at a time, and that way I'll be able to use builds on my presentation here for this part. Any questions about anything so far before I get into the do's and don'ts? It's pretty simple. The videos that you will watch for the discussion post assignment on the do's and don'ts of business presentation has a lot of stuff in it that it's okay. There's the things I'm going to present to you are really what must be in your presentation. The stuff that you watch in those videos is kind of suggestive. So you don't have to, but you could. So when you make your list for your top 10 do's and don'ts of business presentations for the discussion post, my recommendation is to use my list that I'm going to give you right now, but then also you can add some additional items that you learned from the videos, and that's going to give you the best score for this assignment. So, all right, let me go back to Zoom. All right, so let me share my screen. And I'm going to go over this assignment with you guys, which is the do's and don'ts. Because you guys see my screen now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So keep in mind, I am looking for two lists of do's and don'ts. So the first list is when you're presenting, and the second list is presentation software. So if you want to get technical, you should have 20, really, yeah, 20 or even 40, 10 do's, 10 don'ts of presenting, 10 do's and 10 don'ts of presentation software. But I'm not really looking for that. If you do 10 presenting and 10 presentation software and get the ones that I'm going to talk about next, you're good. Because my list isn't even 10. So, but overall, you should have 10 combined for one and 10 combined for the other. So, all right, so let's look at these. So when you're giving a presentation, the first thing that you want to do is obviously be prepared. Know your subject, know your topic. The better prepared you are, the more comfortable you're going to be. You're not going to be anxious. You're going to be able to present. You're not going to be stuck to your notes, things like that. So be prepared. Know your topic. If you're giving a presentation at work on sales reports or progress reports, know what you're going to talk about. Do your research, have it prepared. In this case, you're talking about yourself, so it should be fairly easy. Number two, practice. So a presentation should be practiced. Even if you're giving a business presentation at work, you should run through it a couple times to make sure you know exactly what you want to say, and you can utilize your slides to give you, jog your memory of what you want to talk about. But don't put your notes on the slides. Although there is a feature in PowerPoint where you can put notes at the bottom, and if you use presenter view when you're doing it, you can actually see your slide and your notes, which is also very helpful. I don't teach you how to do that because this isn't a PowerPoint class, but that is a feature it offers. So practice. Number three, make sure everything works before you start. Sometimes you think your video is going to run that you have in your presentation, but you didn't test it, or the audio doesn't work, and you go to run the video that's in your presentation and the audio doesn't work. So test everything. You should always arrive a little early, run through your slides on the screen, click the button so that all the slides transition, everything works, and then, give your presentation. Don't just show up, plug it in, and try because you might have some technical problems. Very important. Number four, speak loud enough for everybody to hear. One problem that most students have is they mumble or they talk at conversational tone. So they'll talk like this. Hi, everybody. My name's Eric Doucette. Like somebody sitting next to you. And if you have a microphone, that's fine. But if you have no amplification, you need to speak up. And I think honestly, speaking up and projecting your voice, even with a microphone, makes you sound more authoritative. It makes you sound more confident. It makes you sound like you know what you're talking about. It comes across much more professional than if you just talk like a conversation. Hi, everybody. My name's Eric Doucette. I just want to give you my four significant life events. It comes across as unconfident and unprofessional. So speak up. Project your voice, speak loudly. I almost sound like I'm yelling because I'm trying to reach those people in the back. And I think that helps me to come across and it engages people. They don't drift off as quickly in the presentation as others might if you have a monotone, soft voice. So speak up, project your voice. Very important. Smile and look at your audience. So you should make eye contact with people, not staring at people, but look around the room. Maybe you'll find three or four people in the room that you connect with and you look at them back and forth. That's fine, but don't read your notes. Don't look down the whole time. Definitely don't turn and read your slides in the back. Don't do that. You can read them for a second, but then turn around and look at your audience. So that's very, very important when it comes to presenting. And in this case, I'll be looking at whether or not you're looking at the camera. Number one, next one is grab your audience's attention at the opening. So usually a good presentation will start off, I didn't really do this, but with some kind of startling statistic or, hey, by the time we're done with this presentation today, you're going to learn how to save millions of dollars or whatever, something that's going to get their attention to bring them into your presentation. That's very good to do that in writing and in presentations. Give your presentation extemporaneously. So what we mean by that is you're not reading your presentation. You're not reading notes. Doesn't mean you can't have notes, doesn't mean you can't have an outline. Your slide could be your outline, but just don't do this. Hi, everybody. My name is Eric Doucette, and I'm here to give my four significant life presentation. Don't read it off something. That's unprofessional. Uh, Extemporaneously means, you've studied, you've researched, you've prepared, and now it's just coming out of you from your knowledge and not just from your notes. So all right, be conversational, professional. That's a very important one. You don't want to be too slang and too kickback and too laid back. You also don't want to be too formal where you sound like you're a doctor or a lawyer. Just keep it conversational, like you would be talking to your coworkers, but you could still project your voice. And professional, meaning that the word selection you use is not too slang or too primitive, keep it professional as best you can, but not overly professional. It's kind of finding that balance. That's why we say conversational and professional. And your book mentions that. Obviously, be positive. I didn't say that. Be positive in your presentation. Don't be negative. Don't talk about your pains and your hurts and your, all that kind of stuff. It's not really the time or place for that. And then the last one's just be yourself. Don't worry about trying to be like somebody else in the way they present. Don't try and be Martin Luther King. Don't try and be, some great orator that you really like. Just be yourself. That's the best thing you can do. And that comes across, and you also feel much more comfortable. It comes across a lot more professional. All right, the don't stare at the screen or your slides. So the last thing you want to do is have your back to the audience and read your slides. And unfortunately, many student presentations that I've given over the years, the students go, "Hi, everybody, this is my presentation." And then they just turn and they read a paragraph off the slide. I can do that in the audience. You don't need to do it for me. So instead, turn to your audience and summarize what the next point is. Don't read it. You can read your bullet point if you have 6 by 6 rule and you have a bullet point with 6 words, read it and then turn around, talk to the audience. That's very important in a presentation. Again, don't read off the slides. You can read them off if they're short and then turn around and talk to the audience, but don't just read what's on the slides. Do not read your notes. Again, I already said that. Do not speak softly or mumble. Be careful that your voice is clear. And then be watchful of verbal tics. So I do a little bit. There's nothing wrong with a few ums and ahs and just not overdoing it. You don't want somebody to go, it's like, when you go to the river and, we're there and, there's like all these people you there, and like, girls tend to do the like. It's like, when I was like one time, like I was, and it's like, okay, no, that's overdoing it. It's not professional. A few ums and ahs and are okay, but just don't overdo it. All right, next one's the do's of your presentation software. Prepare an outline before making your slides. I said that already, but always don't just open PowerPoint and start making slides. Prepare what you want to say in advance, and then you'll know what you need on your slides. Keep your slides simple. You don't want to have too much stuff going on. I'll show you that in a minute. I'm going to give you the world's worst presentation. Use colors that contrast well. So you don't want green and red, you don't want yellow and blue or yellow and green. You want black and white, dark and light. You want colors that contrast good with the background. So letters and background should be easy to read. You should definitely use pictures and graphics when you're using presentation software. Follow the 6 by 6 rule, 6 bullet points, 6 words per bullet point is the goal. That is a great, and I'll be looking for that. If you don't use that, you'll get marked down. Make your font size 30 and above, so don't have anything too small. You might be able to get away with 28 and not know it, but if you're really small, your audience in the back will not be able to read your slides, and I'll be able to see it on your presentation. Use builds. That's where I'm doing right now. I'm adding one item at a time as I'm talking, and you want to do that. I showed you how to do that by using animations in PowerPoint. And then definitely use a navigation slide. Most students do, but what they don't do is have builds on the navigation slide like I did. I had a box come up, then another box come up, then another box come up. Do that. Okay, don't use your notes or slides as notes. That's a big no-no, and you may not be able, I may not be able to tell that here, other than if you have more than 6 words, but in a real presentation, they'll be able to tell when you're doing that. Don't have paragraphs of text. Again, there should not be. The only time that there could be a paragraph is if you're quoting a quote. Other than that, it should just be 6 by 6, 6 words, 6 bullet points. Don't use small fonts. Don't have any typos. Kind of lessens your credibility when you're a bunch of typos, your words misspelled, things like that. Don't have too much going on, transitions and pages flying away and, things moving. Simple. Keep it simple is the key. And that is it. So I have 20 altogether and 10 in each column or each side, but that's pretty much it. Now you can add to this list, which I highly recommend that you do when you watch the videos, but this is essentially what I'm looking for and what I will grade you on at the end of the day. So, all right, I think we lost a few people, but we're still pretty good. Let me do one more thing if I can find it, and that is the world's worst presentation. And it's just really a parody, if anything, if I can find it. Let's see. There we go. I found it. All right, let me open that and then I'll share my screen one more time. And let's do, here we go, right here. All right, let me know that you can see this.
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, so this will be quick. It'll be 2 minutes. All right. So the idea here is I'm going to show you a slide and then you guys tell me what's wrong with it. Okay. First slide. What's wrong with this one?
No build up. It looks like they just got too much on the screen.
Yeah, paragraphs of text, right? They didn't
They
follow.
have paragraphs.
Yeah, they didn't follow the 6 by 6 rule. It's like, and they didn't have builds. So it's all, so this is unfortunately probably what you've experienced as well when you have a student give a presentation in one of your classes. Like they just put this up. And then what they'll do even worse is they'll just read it. And it's like, well, I can read it. That's not a presentation, right? Second one, what's wrong with this one? Anybody?
I
Think
would say the bright, like the brightness in the colors.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely the contrasting colors don't contrast. If you're colorblind or have any color issues, you're not gonna be able to even read this at all. Yeah, contrasting colors is exactly right. All right, very good. Yeah, you want to have, I like black backgrounds with white text, but some people like white backgrounds with black text or just dark text and light background, but just make sure that it's not like this. Let's see, next one. Oh, what's wrong with this one? I'll just say it. Too much going on, right? All these pictures and
Yes, too much going
way
flashes.
on.
picture.
Yeah, you don't want that either. That's unprofessional. So just too much going on. One to two pictures per slide is plenty. Keep things simple. And then this one here is kind of funny. So here's what we call transitions. So watch. So they are using builds, which is nice. But then watch how when I go to leave this, all these different transitions. So that's just too much, right? You don't need to do all that. It should all be the same, you know. If you're going to use builds, just use builds all like this. You know, that's all you need to do. Don't do anything else. But anyway, that's oops, that's that. All right. And then the last one is keep your slides simple. And then the last one is file not found. Disk is unformatted. So again, this comes back to not testing something before you give your presentation. And what you don't want to have happen is, oh, the video didn't work. And that was the main thing you really wanted to show everybody. So just make sure everything works before something will go wrong. That's Murphy's Law. So make sure you prepare for that. Always have a backup of your presentation on hand, like maybe on a zip drive. If for some reason you emailed it didn't work, have a zip drive. Be prepared to give your presentation if for some reason the slides don't work. And this is where maybe you might want to print out a copy of the slides for yourself or even for your audience. Talk to your audience, not to your slides. Don't just read what's on the board. We can all read that. Use your visual presentation as a starting point and then add to it. Avoid apologizing for anything that goes wrong and always leave time for questions and answers at the end. Check your grammar. Make sure that you don't have too many slides. When I was taking this for my master's degree, this class, I took it in my bachelor's and my master's separate classes, but I did I think a 15-minute presentation. I had like 30 slides. I mean, I just way overdid it. And there was another girl that I think hit the home run in the class, and she had like 6 slides. Hers was on childhood obesity, and she just showed pictures of kids, but they weren't obese kids, they were just kids. And she talked, and everybody was totally engaged into her. The picture just added a support that, and I think she nailed it. And I had all these great slides, 6 by 6 rule, builds, everything, but just way too many. So keep it simple is really the key, and don't rush through them. Better to build your slides slowly than to boom, 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 boom. And I tend to be over. I think what you saw was okay for me. I've added to it and it's gotten worse. So be careful of that. All right. So that's it for presentations. Hopefully that was helpful to you guys. And if you have any questions, let me know. If not, I'm going to record this. I recorded this. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.